Zok the Heilige Mishnah, Mesech Nedarim, Daf Beis Amud Aleph. First Mishnah, Mesech Nedarim. Kol kinui Nedarim Nedarim. All, so to say, nicknames of Nedarim have a din like Nedarim. They have all din of Nedarim. Macharam kacharam. And if someone's making cherim, which is a boycott, it has a din like charamim. V'shvuas kishvuas. And if someone's making a shvu, an oath, it has a din like shvu. Or naziris kanaziris. Okay, so let's stop right there. So, just to be makdim, this Mishnah is talking about nidrei isser, meaning that a person could aser on himself things that are really permitted, things that are mutter, for a short amount of time or forever. And then we learn a pasuk b'midbar parak lamed. Pasuk Gimel says, "Ishki neder l'Hashem, lesser son actually achadvar chol yitzim pivyasa." And the neder can be done in one of three ways. So the basic way is when somebody says davar zeh asar alai, this thing is asar ami, or davar zeh asar like a carbon. Or somebody says that this thing is asar mi like a carbon. In other words, just like a carbon is asar because it has kedusha, so too this chayf, it should also be asar on me. A second way is a person can use kinuyim, which is basically nicknames. Somebody could say, instead of saying davar zeh like a carbon, this thing should be on me like a carbon, which is the main typical, so to speak, lashon of a neder. A guy could say words like koinem or koineach or koines, which are nicknames for karbanis. That's the second way. The third way is yadais nedarim, which means you're not saying the full phrase of the neder. You're just saying a little piece of it. You're like saying it in short, and you're not finishing it. So that has a din. I'm just saying all those things, kinuyim and yadais, have a din like you're saying a full neder. So, first the Mishnah says, Kol kinuyim nedarim is like nedarim. All nicknames of nedarim have a din like a neder. And the neder works. And then it says, charamim. If somebody says, let's say cherech, then it has a din like a regular cherem. Also, kinu and shvuas. The guy says shavusa, then it has a din like a regular shvua. And also naziris. The guy says, let's say naziach, instead of saying harini nazir, then that's what you see in the Mishnah later, Daf Yud. It also has a din like regular nazir. So now the Mishnah is going to go and explain the dinim of yad by nedarim. If somebody tells his friend, I don't want to have any hana from you, or or he says, I want to be separated from you, I don't want to have anything to do with you, or he says murchakani mimcha, or he says any of his lashonis that and he adds on, it says shani oichel lacha, or he says shani tayim lacha. So the halacha is asar. Even though he didn't specifically say the word isar. But if he says menodana anani lacha, if he says menodani lacha, even though he added in the words shani lacha or shani tayim lacha, the halacha is that the neder is not chal. So we'd have to say these words, mudranim lacha, shanim lacha, and then you can say shani lacha, shani tayim lacha. But if he just says menodani lacha, then the neder is not chal midin yad, because the lashon menuda is not a neder, rather it's a nidei. But Rabbi Kiva wasn't sure about this. He didn't necessarily agree, and he's bezala hachmer. He held that maybe even if you say Allah shana menuda nilacha, even though it's not Allah shana neder mamish, but maybe the neder could yichal and go into effect. Zak the Gemara, kol niduye kinuye nedarim kinedarim. All nicknames of nedarim has a din like a neder. And charam shvuz k'shvuz, naziris k'naziris. So now the Gemara is going to explain why is the Mishnah now mentioning all these halachas. Ma'ishna gabi nazir, the loik tana l'kulu. How come in Maseches Nazir, when it discusses the Dinei Nazir, does not discuss over there also Nedarim and Shvuas? It only talks about Dinei Naziris. How come over here it talks about Nedarim, but it also mentions the halachas of Naziris and Shvuas? Everything Gemara, since Neder and Shvuah say in one pasuk in the Torah, it says Ishkina Neder LaHashem Yeshava Shvuah, Tani Tartim. So that's why the Mishnah says both of them. The Cheva and the Tani Tartim, Tani Lekulu. And since it already says both of them, so therefore the Mishnah goes and adds on also Charam and Naziris. Frekti Gemara, if that's taka the case, that it says all the halachas, only because it says Shvuas and Nedarim saying the same pasuk, Ishkida Neder Hashem Yeshal Shvuah, V'lisni Kine Shvuas Basa Nedarim, then the Mishnah should have said it like the order it says in Torah. So it says Shvuas and then Nedarim, and not to first say Charamim. Why does the Mishnah first say the halachas of Charamim? So the Gemara answers, I didn't tell you the Nedarim the Tasechef Allah. Since the Mishnah already said in the beginning of the din of Nedarim that you're asering an object on you. So Tananai Mecharamim Tasechef Allah. So therefore it says Charamim to tell you that Acherim can also be chal, boyka can also be chal on assets that are machramim. As opposed to when you make a shvuah, an oath, the Mishnah didn't mention that right away because it's different from neder, because a shvuah is goes into effect on a person. A shvuah is chal on a person. A person asks himself from having pleasure from the chassid. So that's why it starts off saying Nedarim and Charamim. Zak the Gemara, Pasach b'din kinuyin, kon kinuy darim. It starts off talking about the laws of kinuyin, kon kinuy darim, and then mefarish Yodis. When the Mishnah comes to explain, it goes on to explain the halachas of Yodis. And then it goes on to explain the halachas of Yodis. So why does the Mishnah start off talking about Kinuyin, and then it goes on to explain the halachas of Yodis? Soon another question the Gemara asks, Yodis in Shei. Yodis and She. The Tana, that's Gemara's question here. The Gemara's question is, that the Gemara's question is Yodis and She, that the Tana really forgot to say the Ikar Halacha of Yodis, that Yodis Dar Kanadarim, because it says called Kanuni Darim Kanadarim, but it doesn't say all. It says called Kanuni Darim Kanadarim, Bacharam Charam Shuas Ziris Ganaziris. However, it does not say Kol Yodis Nedarim Kanadarim. Why doesn't it say that? And it just goes on to list the Lashonos of Yadis. So the Gemara answers the second question. The Gemara says, Ayri Bahain, that it is talking about also the din of Yadis. It's missing some words in the Mishnah, and this have to read it. Kol when you do it, Nedarim with Nedarim, or Kinui of Nedarim is like Nedarim, and Yadis Nedarim is also Nedarim. So the Mishnah is addressing both of them, Kinui Nedarim and Yadis Nedarim. So, fact the Gemara, L'chari, you still have the first Kasha Shver. It starts off talking about Din Kinuyin, and then all of a sudden it starts explaining Yadis. What's Pshat? Why didn't it first explain Kinuyin? So, Lifresh Kinuyin Beresha, I let it explain Kinuyin first. Zok the Gemara, Hahud Salag Manea, Hu Mefarish Beresha. The one that we finished talking about first, that's one we go to explain first. We said Nedarim, Kinuyin Nedarim, then we said Yadis Nedarim, and then we go explain Yadis Nedarim. The Tanan, because we learned in the Mishnah Shabbos on Chafim Beis. Bameh Adlikin, it says, or what are you allowed to light on Shabbos, near Shabbos? Ma'im Adlikin, and with what are you not allowed to light? And then first the Tana goes and explains what are you not allowed to light with, which is a Seifa. And so to the Mishnah in Sech Shabbos Zayin Beis, it said Met Taimnim, Ma'in Taimnim, and then the Mishnah goes on to explain Ein Taimnim, with what you're not allowed to do Hatman with on Erev Shabbos. Bameh Isha Yaitza, and so to the Mishnah on Daf Nun Zayin and Alf in Shabbos says Bameh Isha Yaitza Ma'ini Yaitza, and then it says Le'seitze Isha again. So it's explaining the Seif, and the Gemara is just bringing a few rayas. So now the Gemara is going to ask a few questions where we find Mishnayos that it has an order in the Mishnah. The Mishnah says Din Aleph and Din Beis, and then the Mishnah goes on to explain the first thing. So not like you have it over here like we just mentioned. Fact the Gemara, the pasuk on the first ration. Anytime you start off, it doesn't explain that first thing you started off first. But Tanan, Sexpor Bastav Kufches Aleph, Yesh Noichilin. It says that there are relatives that they inherit their yarshin, their relatives that died, and they also yarshin to those krolim if they themselves die. So in other words, they yarshin each other. So that's the Gemara's question. It says yesh neichlin umanchilin, yesh neichlin lemanchilin. There are those that they yarshin their relatives, but they don't yarshin to their relatives. And then first the Mishnah starts saying, so over there in that case it's explaining the Resha. Also, it says in Yemamis Pedal, there's a Mishnah says that there are those that are permitted to their husbands, or they're also to their Yevamis, and Utaras Yemain, and they're also to the husbands. And then the Mishnah starts off saying, again, the Resha, these are the ones that are mutter to their husbands, but also to the Yavam. Also, you have a Mishnah Menachas Dafin Tesvet Alf, Yesh Tunas Shem Levayna, that there are some Menachas that need Shem and Levayna, and then there's some that need Shemen and without Levayna. And then the Mishnah says, the Gemara goes on to explain, the Mishnah goes on to explain, it says, it's going to explain the Reish, it says, Ve'elu tu and Shem Levayna, these are the ones that need Shem Levayna. And then there's another Mishnah of Samach Menal from Menachas says, Yesh tu and Hagasha, some Menachas need Hagasha, you have to bring close to the Mizbeach, and they don't need Tenufa, Ve'en Tzirchu Tuvis, Tenufa V'le Hagasha, then you have vice versa the other way, that some need Tenufa without Hagasha. And then the Mishnah said, it goes on to explain the Reish of Elitunis Hagasha. These are the ones that need Hagasha to the Mizbeach. And then there's another Mishnah from Alf in Bechiris. Yesh Bechar Lenachla. There are some Bechar that take double Yerusha from their father. The Ein Bechar Lekayim, but Le'inin Pizah Ben, they're not considered a Bechar. And Bechar Lekayim, some are considered to have a Din Bechar Legabi Kayin for Pinyin Ben, but Ein Bechar Lenachla. But they're not a Bechar when it comes to Yerusha. And then the Mishnah goes on to explain, Eiz Bechar Lenachla ve'Ein Bechar Lekayim, which is the Reisha again. So, after the Gemara, Halein Mishum Da'av Shulei. The reason why over there it starts off in the Reisha is because there are so many halachas. So Mefarish, Hahu the Pasach Bereisha. So in that case, where we just brought all these Mishnayos and Shabbos and Menachos and Bechiris, there's a lot of halachas. So therefore, the Tana starts explaining the Reisha because there's so many different halachas negate to it. So, Frek the Gemara, is that true? That anytime you have a lot of halach, a lot of different efanim, the Tana starts off saying that first halacha first. V'ha b'amevahim yoytza v'im yoytza deloy afsha. There's not a lot of halachas where one animal go on katani. It still says yoytzi gamal. It's still the remark. The mission there on Daf Menal on the days and Shabbos explains the ratio, even though there's not a lot of halachas. So therefore, the Gemara says, "Elalav dafka." The Tana is not makbid. Zimnim afarash with the pasuk b'reisha. Sometimes it says what the first thing it lists, v'zimnahu the salak b'rosh b'reisha, and sometimes it says, and sometimes it explains what it just finished talking about, like we have in our Mishnah in Nedarim.